financial and professional services sector is critical to every nation. I dare say it is the backbone of all successful economies. The cross-cutting nature of the sector makes it impact all other economic sectors, be it technology, oil and gas, manufacturing, agriculture, and so on. There is almost a perfect relationship between the performance of financial services and national growth and development. My name is Aigbuji Ike Imokwe, and I take pride in the fact that I am a financial services professional. The sector has nurtured me, incubated the great organizations I'm privileged to have served as an employee, and most importantly, financial services has given me a platform to contribute towards building Nigeria. EnterpriseNGR is an independent non-profit comprised of individuals like me and the companies we work for. We represent the players in finance, in insurance, in banking, accounting, law, and other professional services who have come together to position Nigeria at the center of Africa's finance by collaborating on transformational nation-building initiatives. EnterpriseNGR will engage and partner with government at the nexus of policy formulation as well as implementation to foster a stable and enabling business environment.
My name is Obi Bekwe, and I'm the CEO of EnterpriseNGR. At EnterpriseNGR, we have a vision of a unified financial and professional services industry in which all sectors are enabled to achieve their potential and contribute to the transformation of Nigeria into the premier financial center of Africa. Our goal is to work collaboratively with the entire ecosystem of the financial and professional services industry and with government to develop and implement policies that will promote growth, efficiency, and transparency in our financial system. It has been demonstrated in many developed countries, for example, the UK, Singapore, and the US, that a strong financial system is the catalyst for economic development. The same can happen here in Nigeria. We're not reinventing the wheel, but we need to work together. United, we are strong, but divided as we currently are, we have less impact. We believe that if we can speak with one voice, we will be better positioned to influence policies and effect necessary changes. Therefore, at EnterpriseNGR, we will work every day to help build that one big voice of enterprise for the financial and professional services industry. This is our mission.
My name is Kayode Akikube. I'm the Managing Director and CEO of FBN Quest, Merchant Bank, and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. I'm very confident that EnterpriseNGR will succeed in its mission to ensure the development of the Nigerian financial services landscape, and in doing so, ensuring that Nigeria becomes Africa's premier financial center. I'm optimistic for several reasons, but I'll mention just a couple. The first is the pedigree of the founding members. These are institutions that are leaders in their spheres of operation. These are institutions that recognize they have a duty and responsibility to develop their ecosystem. And these are all institutions that are committed and have longevity. The second important aspect is the quality of the management team. The founders have been very careful, very patient, and very deliberate in identifying and selecting people who we feel have the right amount of experience, the right amount of commitment, and the right amount of determination to ensure that the vision, not only do they align with it, but they can bring it to life. So we're confident that EnterpriseNGR will make its mark.
My name is Benga Ibode, and I am the co-founder of the law firm of Alukwano Ibode and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. The rule of law and a strong pipeline of legal talent are key building blocks for becoming a global financial center. The Nigerian legal services sector has witnessed significant growth and seen the emergence of large law firms capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with their international counterparts. Our work cuts across the public and private sector, thus positioning the legal services subsector to play a major role in evolving an integrated strategy for the transformation of Nigeria. EnterpriseNGR will work with the stakeholders to spur growth and the development of a deep bench of legal talent required to support our aspiration of regional dominance of the financial and professional services industry in Africa.
My name is Bola Onodele Koko, and I'm the CEO of FMDQ Group and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. The financial and professional services sector in Nigeria has experienced tremendous growth since the return of democracy to our great country in 1999. We have experienced an upsurge in financial penetration as well as diversity in financial products available in the country. We are witnesses to a banking subsector that has experienced a penetration of 50% and become the second largest in sub-Saharan Africa, with total assets of over $125 billion. Even with these successes, there's still room for growth, especially as we have over 50% of Nigerian adults, about 60 million people, unbanked, and very little penetration of other financial services like asset management and insurance. As CEO of a financial market infrastructure group, I'm fully aware of the role of financial markets in improving commerce, which is the lifeblood of every economy. There's indeed need for thriving and liquid money, foreign exchange, and capital markets in Nigeria. EnterpriseNGR will advocate for and support policies that improve liquidity and expand penetration across all subsectors.
My name is Oscar M. Onyema, Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, formerly known as the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I'm also a board member of EnterpriseNGR. The Nigerian capital markets have grown in recent years, with the Nigerian Exchange Limited alone accounting for about 312 listed securities, $59 billion of that in equities and $44 billion in fixed income. The demutualization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is testament to the modernization in recent years of the Nigerian capital markets. However, there still remains opportunities for significant growth, and EnterpriseNGR, working with the Nigerian capital market and other stakeholders, can help to drive the improvement in depth and sophistication of the products that are offered in our marketplace. We believe that will also crowd in both retail and institutional investors. And with the right kinds of advocacy and the right kinds of policy, we believe we can extract this promise. Thank you very much.
My name is Bolaji Balogun, and I'm Chief Executive Officer at Chapel Hill Denham and a member of the board of EnterpriseNGR. I'm very much a firm believer that talent is a key driver for success in all businesses, and I've always felt it was important for us to invest in grooming and attracting world-class talent across Nigeria's financial and professional services sectors. Accordingly, one of our first initiatives as an organization is what we call the Youth of Enterprise program, which is aimed at enabling human capital development by upgrading skill sets for young people across our industry. Through EnterpriseNGR, we will provide, as a starting point, 5,000 high-value internships for young Nigerians as well as young professionals within the sector across both financial and professional services on an annual basis. With this initiative, we will contribute to uplifting skill sets as well as contributing to reducing Nigeria's unemployment.
My name is Banjo Adigungwe, and I'm the CEO of Coronation Merchant Bank and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. New York, London, Shanghai, Singapore, and Dubai all have one thing in common. they are all leading global financial centers. While New York and London have a strong traditional history of vibrancy in the financial and professional service sectors, Shanghai, Singapore, and Dubai have demonstrated that rapid transformation is possible. This is what Nigeria can emulate. The City UK and Enterprise Singapore have been instrumental in the evolution of the UK and Singapore into global financial centers. We expect Enterprise NGR to learn from and partner with these organizations to replicate the successful transformation of their financial and professional service sectors in Nigeria.
Welcome to the official launch of Enterprise NGR. Welcome to the unveiling of the Voices of Enterprise. Designed to create a financial and related professional services advocacy group for Nigeria. I like to think of advocacy as about reaching goals we can all agree on as a community. So as we navigate the journey from recovery to prosperity for Africa's largest economy, Nigeria, I believe the official launch of Enterprise NGR is a milestone that lays, if you like, another track on the rail line that leads us to a greater Nigeria. I am Wole Famriwa, and I'm delighted to be your navigator through today's event. And before we proceed, allow me to run through a few housekeeping issues. First, for your information, this program is being recorded. And second, please feel free to share your comments about the event in the chat field. The Enterprise NGR team will be happy to receive your feedback. Please also share your thoughts about the conversations that we are having today on social media. You can use the hashtag Voices of Enterprise. Thank you again for joining us. And now let's get started with a rendition of the national anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as we consider the national significance of today's program.
Arise, I'm sure you'll agree, an excellent rendition of the national anthem by Chi and Segun Obe. The importance of the financial and related professional services to an economy can't be overstated. Financial service providers are often intermediaries for the flow of money and indeed the capital that fuels the growth of small and large enterprises. The related professional services such as legal, accounting, consulting, and financial advisory services, as well as financial market infrastructure providers, enable the seamless and efficient flow of funds that make a big difference in the economy and broader society. The largest economies in the world are characterized by robust financial and professional services providers. EnterpriseNGR is a member-led professional policy and advocacy group established to promote and advocate for the financial and related professional services sector in Nigeria, all with a view to transform Nigeria into the premier financial services center in Africa. Now, leading this effort is someone that needs little introduction, with a career that spans 3 decades, which, if I may add, you can read about in his recently published book titled Leaving the Tarmac, Buying a Bank in Africa. A great read, if I may say so. Ladies and gentlemen, I speak of the chairman of the board of directors of EnterpriseNGR, Mr. Aigboje Aig Imokwede. Mr. Chairman, I yield this virtual stage to you as you present your welcome address.
Thank you, Wale. And it's great to join. I think the numbers are in the hundreds. Maybe we'll touch 1,000 today. His Excellency, the Vice President of the Federal Republic, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, the Honorable Minister for Finance and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, our keynote speaker, Mr. Adebayo Ogunlesi, the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission, Commissioner of the National Insurance Commission, other government technocrats, leaders of Nigeria's financial markets, distinguished ladies and gentlemen who have joined us across the world to participate in today's event. As Wale said, my name is Aigboje Aig Imokwede. It is my pleasure in my capacity as Chairman Board of Directors to welcome you all to the formal launch of EnterpriseNGR, our non-profit advocacy group, which we have established to champion the advancement of the Nigerian financial services sector. We believe that the private sector and government must work hand in hand to ensure that our nation takes off, leaves the tarmac, so to speak, and reaches its full potential. That is what EnterpriseNGR is all about. I really thank everyone who has been involved in the heavy lifting to make our dream a reality, especially our young management team led by Obi Ibekwe, who will be speaking shortly after me. On behalf of my board colleagues, we express our deep and sincere appreciation to His Excellency, the Vice President, for honoring us with his goodwill message, and the Honorable Minister of Finance, as well as our keynote speaker, Mr. Ogunlesi, for their participation, even though it is still very early in the morning on the East Coast of the United States, where they both are. Our story, the EnterpriseNGR story, dates back to my period of service as the president of the Nigerian Stock Exchange Council. During one of our official visits to the UK, we were introduced to the City UK, the private sector advocacy organization, which is renowned for its role as a key driver of London's position today as a global financial services powerhouse. We were convinced then that Nigeria could also achieve similar successes driven by Nigeria's own City UK equivalent. We needed to build a strong coalition. Let me use the right word, a powerful coalition of financial services players who would work hand in hand with policymakers and regulators to transform Nigeria's financial system. Similar to the City UK, we aim to engineer win-win positive results, such as GDP expansion, increased employment, and of course, national growth. I'm truly humbled by the caliber of organizations that have come together to play the role, the founding role of this organization. These institutions are passionate about the growth of Nigeria, and they are led by professionals who are keen to make a remarkable difference. Allow me to mention the name of each in each organization: Aluko and Oyebode, Chapel Hill Denham, Coronation Merchant Bank, FBN Quest Merchant Bank, FMDQ Holdings, Nigerian Exchange Group, PwC, Templars, Access Bank, Central Securities Clearing System, Tengen Family Office, Custodian Insurance, Verod Capital. Over the next hour and a half, we will share our plans to make Nigeria the strongest financial services center in Africa. South Africa, watch this space. You will also hear about the collaborative nature of EnterpriseNGR and how we intend to work with all key stakeholders to achieve success. We have lofty ambitions, but we are confident that with the right partners, we can make these ambitions a reality. I use this opportunity to invite other well-meaning operators to join EnterpriseNGR, and let's make history together. Once again, I thank you all for joining us today, and I welcome you to a new era of possibilities in the Nigerian financial and professional services sector. God bless. Thank you. Over to you, Wale.
Thank you very much, Mr. Agimokwede. Very well said. And as you mentioned, a powerful coalition is being built here. And for anyone joining us from South Africa, please spread the word. You have been served. Notice, Nigeria is coming, and you would see us emerge as the premier financial services center on the continent. Moving on, I'd like to now introduce Ms. Obi Bekwe, the Chief Executive Officer of EnterpriseNGR. Obi has over 3 decades of experience in the financial and professional services sector. Her career has cut across law, management, consulting, and banking. Now, while in banking and until her retirement as an executive director, Obi held key management positions spanning credit and marketing, credit risk management, human resources, and customer services. She also worked as a member of the senior management team at Accenture Nigeria and sat on several boards. Obi, you may now deliver your opening remarks.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Obi Bekwe. I have the privilege of being the first Chief Executive Officer of EnterpriseNGR. Like many of you listening to me, I've had what could be described as a fairly successful career. I started my career as a practicing lawyer, joined the banking industry, and was lucky to rise to board level, and also worked as a management consultant after my MBA in global consulting firm. This is the story, to a greater or lesser extent, of most people in this audience. We have done well individually, but can the same be said for our country, Nigeria, that represents us collectively? If truth be told, although Nigeria has come a long way, we can do a lot better than we're doing now. Our economy is struggling, and many Nigerians are still living in poverty. Despite the improvements to ease of doing business, the operating environment for businesses remains challenging. Social amenities such as education, healthcare, security are weakened. 52% of our young people with university degrees are either unemployed or underemployed. While government is actively seeking solutions to these problems and the private sector is doing its part, we believe that what is required is a more strategic collaboration between the two for effective change to occur. We need to all rise and do our part to help Nigeria take its place on the world stage. This is precisely the sentiment of our founders that informed the vision of EnterpriseNGR. Every country that has achieved economic development has done so powered by a strong financial and professional services sector, otherwise referred to as FPS sector. It is no coincidence that the countries with the strongest economies and highest GDPs all have robust FPS sectors, consisting of banking and finance, insurance, asset management, capital markets, law, accounting, consulting, fintech, and related sectors. The prospects of Nigeria taking its place among the developed nations of the world is high, but this can only be realized if the country's FPS sector is deepened through an enabling policy environment and collaborative transformational growth effort. For this to happen, the FPS sector and government must work in concert. EnterpriseNGR is positioned to be the bridge that fosters this essential collaboration. Our goal is to promote a favorable environment where business sector advocates are able to successfully and effectively engage with policymakers, working jointly with government authorities and other key stakeholders. So who are we? We are a professional policy and advocacy group registered as a not-for-profit company, limited by guarantee, and established to promote the growth and development of Nigeria's financial and professional services sector, with a view to transforming Nigeria into the premier financial services center. We believe that when we succeed in this mission, we would have achieved a vision of being a leading voice and champion for the development and transformation of Nigeria. And we believe this mission is very attainable. In fact, we've seen the successful results that can come from the methods we plan to adopt. The City UK has recorded remarkable outcomes for the UK economy since its inception in 2010. Member-led and member-funded, EnterpriseNGR is modeled after the City UK and successful entities like it around the world. It is now our intention to take what we've learned and tailor it to Nigeria and its specific needs. Our priorities: we are indeed passionate about identifying and working collaboratively with all stakeholders to resolve the major issues that have sub-optimized the performance of our sector. We have identified 5 key areas of focus for advocacy in the immediate term. They include financial inclusion, digitization, regionalization, international trade, and sustainability. EnterpriseNGR will also intervene directly in the economy to be the solution we advocate for. One of our very first initiatives as an organization will be a program that we have dubbed the Youth of Enterprise. In an effort to combat unemployment and boost the quality of talent in the FPS sector, EnterpriseNGR will onboard at least 5,000 interns in the first year. And in 10 years, we plan to have successfully placed more than 100,000 interns. This is our commitment to the next generation of workplace talent, a generation that we hope will be able to harvest the seeds of the success we plan today. I can categorically state that what we are doing today is more than just a launch of yet another advocacy group. It is the launch of an organization keen to catalyze the revitalization of the Nigerian economy and revitalize Nigerian economy where the average citizen is able to access credit seamlessly, where resources are efficiently channeled, where technological advances are leveraged to improve the financial inclusion, where the rule of law is upheld, where foreign exchange policies are consistent and reliable, boosting the confidence of both local and foreign investors. We need no longer just imagine this Nigeria, we can become it. EnterpriseNGR, in close collaboration with government and all other key stakeholders, will indeed help transform Nigeria into Africa's premier financial services center. I implore you all to join us in our mission to build a stronger financial and professional services sector and help our great nation begin to activate and fully realize its true potential. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Obi. Very well said, very useful insight into the objectives of EnterpriseNGR there delivered by the CEO of EnterpriseNGR. She made some very important points, and I hope you can find yourself in all the initiatives of Enterprise NGR. I see that quite a few people are joining us from all over the world. You're all welcome again. Thank you so much. And we look forward to you getting on board to build, as we have said, the goal is Africa's premier financial services center. Earlier, I mentioned that the national significance of today's event. So we find further evidence of this in the caliber of speakers that have made time to join us today. And it's now my pleasure to introduce His Excellency Professor Yemi Osinbajo, GCON, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as he delivers an address to show support for the objectives and aspirations of Enterprise NGR. Please receive His Excellency Vice President Yemi Osinbajo.
The Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Hajia Zainab Ahmed, the Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission, Mr. Lamido Yuguda, captains of industry, honored guests, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Today is a special day in Nigeria's economic journey, and the day may pass quietly as other days, but its significance in the years to come is bound to be huge. The reason is that we're formally establishing the united and powerful voice of the Nigerian business and professional community, Enterprise NGR, the professional policy and advocacy group with the overarching vision to be a leading voice and champion for the development and transformation of the Nigerian economy and a mission to advance Nigeria's transformation as Africa's premier financial services center. This is the private sector taking a lead role in a space traditionally reserved for the public sector. The promotion of local and foreign investment and advocacy to make the domestic environment more attractive and competitive. Enterprise agencies in other parts of the world, such as the Citi UK, Enterprise Singapore, and Abrasca of Brazil, have done this with outstanding success for their business and professional communities and their national economies. There is no doubt that it is a game changer when the informed Nigerian professional and business community speak with one voice to issues of domestic or international business policy. I think there might be a need to distinguish slightly between some of the existing enterprise organizations in the world and Enterprise NGR. So Enterprise Singapore is government-owned. The Citi UK is private but has a restricted mandate. Its advocacy is primarily to promote the financial and related professional services industry of the United Kingdom. But Enterprise NGR is more ambitious and has a wider mandate. It will not only promote the financial and related professional services sectors, but also champion the development and transformation of the Nigerian economy. And this is as it should be. Enterprise NGR simply has more ground to cover than these other organizations. So on behalf of Mr. President and the federal government, I'd like to commend the initiators, Alukwano Yebode, Chapel Hill Denham, Coronation Merchant Bank, FBN Quest Merchant Bank, FMDQ Holdings, the Nigeria Exchange Group, the Tengen Family Office, Templars, Central Securities Clearing System, and PricewaterhouseCoopers for their far-sightedness in establishing Enterprise NGR, the first in the Africa region. Well done indeed. It's our hope and prayer that Enterprise NGR will achieve its crucial and transformative objectives. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We really appreciate the support of the public sector, even though indeed, as you have noted, Enterprise NGR is private sector driven. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much. Now I'm delighted to introduce a very important stakeholder in the sector, the Honorable Minister Hajia Zainab Ahmed. She is the Minister for Finance, Budget, and National Planning. I welcome her now to give a short speech. Honorable Minister, it's over to you.
Thank you very much. Good morning, Excellency, the Vice President, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Let me also join His Excellency, the Vice President, to commend the CEO, EnterpriseNGR, and the founding members of EnterpriseNGR for this excellent initiative that you have put together. It is indeed for me an honor and a privilege to have been invited to be part of this event. I'm really excited to be here. This is a very important group, a very important constituency in the country, the financial and professional service sector. I'm delighted because the establishment of EnterpriseNGR is a testament to the coming of age of the industry and the realization of the critical role the private sector plays in ensuring a thriving economy. I congratulate and salute the efforts of the founding members of this noble organization. I would like to use this opportunity to reiterate government's unwavering support to the private sector and to also re-emphasize our readiness to ensure that we create an enabling environment where businesses continue to prosper and innovation is encouraged in Nigeria. Positive outcomes of some of government's efforts are reflected in the performance of key parts of the non-oil sector in the most recently released GDP reports, and also the rising contribution of the non-oil sector revenues to total government revenues. I'm confident that the private sector initiatives like EnterpriseNGR will go a long way to improve the business terrain in Nigeria. Government is keen to work closely with EnterpriseNGR in its advocacy role, representing the broader financial and professional services sector. As we know, your success will eminently and significantly impact the broader economy. The importance of your sector as a driver of growth cannot be overemphasized, and I'm sure that your work will aid in accelerating the economic transformation of our country. I wish everyone that is here today and the whole of EnterpriseNGR the best in this very important endeavor. And I want you to just know that our doors are open and will always be open to engage with you, and that we're firmly with you in this journey. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to be here today. Good morning.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. We truly appreciate the support of the government and the public sector at large, even though, as I mentioned, this is largely driven by the private sector. The next, if you like, item on the program is one I think we can all look forward to. It's a conversation with one of the shining lights of Nigeria. Mr. Bayo Ogunlesi is an incredibly accomplished Nigerian lawyer and investment banker. With a career now into its fourth decade, he has advised on transactions across the world. Notably, in July 2006, Mr. Ogunlesi started the private equity firm, Global Infrastructure Partners, GIP for short, a joint venture whose initial electric. He currently serves as chairman and managing partner of GIP, which is invested in several landmark infrastructure across the world. I also found it interesting to discover that while pursuing a career in investment banking, he also made out some time to lecture at the prestigious Harvard Law School. So he found a way to give back. So engaging Mr. Ogunlesi in a conversation today is the chairman of EnterpriseNGR, Mr. Igboje Agimokwede. It's now my pleasure to hand over to Mr. Agimokwede right now. So over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wole. And let me, before I go into the very pleasurable task of introducing our keynote speaker, just appreciate once more His Excellency, the Vice President, and Her Excellency, the Honorable Minister of Finance, for their wonderful contributions. Thank you so much. Now, I first heard about our guest speaker when I joined King's College for my A-levels. He is a KC old boy. By the time I was doing my A-levels, he had already finished his law degree at Oxford University. And and as well as his master's in law at Harvard University. He was a clerk then to the famous Justice Thurgood Marshall at the US Supreme Court. So already, I mean, you can imagine this young lower sixth form student, hearing about this Nigerian who was smashing down all types of ceilings and proving that we Nigerians, should be respected in all fields of endeavor. He joined the prestigious US law firm Craver, Swain and Moore. And by the time my career in banking started in 1988, he had already started making waves as an investment banker at Credit Suisse First Boston. Indeed, when we bought Access Bank in 2002, Bayo Ogunlesi was already the global head of investment banking at CSFB. He was already one of the most renowned and most respected professionals in global finance. And then in 2004, I remember reading when he was appointed executive vice chairman at CSFB, which was, just short of being the most prestigious role in global finance at the time. And then, we were preparing for him to become CEO when he chose to embark on the entrepreneurial chapter of his life, forming the PE firm Global Infrastructure Partners, where he is chairman and managing partner, and he sits on nearly $100 billion worth of assets of firepower. If there is a poster boy for financial services and related professional services anywhere in the world, I would imagine that the first name on that poster would be Mr. Adebayo Ogunlesi. Bayo, it's great to have you with us this afternoon in Lagos, morning in New York. Thank you very much for joining us.
I think it's my pleasure. And let me add my congratulations to everybody for the launch of Enterprise Nigeria. In preparing for this, I actually spoke to my good friend, Mark Tucker, who is as you know, is the chairman of the board of Enterprise City UK. And I said, what lessons can I pass along? And he was very encouraged, actually. As you mostly probably know, he spent most of his career actually in Asia. And so he thought the idea of Nigerian professionals getting together to set up an organization to advocate for financial services, advocate for professional services, but more importantly, work hand in glove, as the Honorable Minister and the Vice President said, with the government to allow Nigeria to achieve its full potential was something that was very exciting. So congratulations to all of the founding members, congratulations to OB, and of course to Ike for being the inaugural chair of this organization.
Thank you so much, Bayo. Now, we avoided describing this as a fireside chat. It could be apt for you in New York, but for me, this is an air-conditioned environment. But nonetheless, I think, warm or cool where I am, I think we're going to have a great 20 minutes conversation. Now, let me start with this established fact. If you look at your career, law, banking, asset management, entrepreneurship, then of course you've taught in school, a bit like in certain respects, even our vice president. And you think about this entire, formative journey for you. And then what you do now, which is put infrastructure in places where the world needs it. Can you tell us how your career journey has basically informed what you're doing today and the contributions you're making to the world economy and humanity?
Sure, that's a very good question. First, when you describe my career, it makes it sound like it was some plan that I came up with when I was in King's College. The fact is, most of the things that I've done have been serendipity. So I actually didn't study law at Oxford. I studied politics, philosophy, and economics, right? Because I thought I wanted to be an economist. Now, of course, for those of you who follow the plight of the UK, PPE is a subject that many prime ministers and chancellors of Exchequer, the UK, studied at Oxford, and they all messed up the UK economy. It took Margaret Thatcher, who actually studied chemistry at Oxford, to figure out how to run the UK economy effectively. So that tells you a lot about what PPE prepared for. Then I thought I wanted to be a corporate lawyer. So I said, if you want to be a corporate lawyer, you should apply to law school in the US because most corporate lawyers are American trained. So I applied to Harvard. what I didn't know was that at the time, Harvard actually did not really admit into the law school, at least the regular JD program, people who are either not Americans, Canadians, or hadn't gone to university in the US. Why they admitted me, I didn't quite know, but I think I found out after the fact. Remember, this was in 1975, right? After the first Arab oil embargo, oil-producing country Nigeria. So Harvard, in its far-sighted vision, thought, well, we'll admit this Nigerian guy. He'll get, go back to his country, get rich, and then he'll donate lots of money to Harvard Law School. And of course, 20 years later, Justice Kagan, who when she was dean of the law school, came to see me and told me that she had come to collect. If you follow Harvard, you will see that there is no Ogunlesi Hall at Harvard Law School. So I think they may have made a mistake in doing that. But having gone into the law school, I decided to apply to business school. And the reason I applied to business school was I said, well, look, if I'm going to have corporate people as my clients, I might as well go and study with them. And, maybe if I'll do better than them, they'll be forced to hire me as a lawyer because I'll tell them, look, I'll tell everybody I did better than you in business school. But, so I did this JD MBA program. And then, as you said, I clerked to the Supreme Court. I went to Cravat. And actually, the reason why I ended up in banking has to do with Nigeria. I was working with Cravat when one day I got a call from Hakeem Belosage. Hakeem had gone back to Nigeria. We'd been at Oxford together, we were at KC together. And he'd gone back to Nigeria and was then the assistant minister of petroleum. And the Nigerian government was looking for advisors for the LNG projects. And so Bonny LNG. So I said, oh, why don't you go talk to all these investment banks? So CSFB gets hired. And then they discover that Cravat actually has this Nigerian friend, a lawyer, who's a friend of their clients. So they call up Cravat and say, well, can Bio come and sort of work on this assignment as a consultant? So I said, all right, I'll do it for a few months. And when I got there, they discovered I had an MBA. I knew how to read financial statements and say, well, wouldn't you rather be a banker than a lawyer? And they would do something like, we'd have a meeting. The lawyers would go back to the office to draft documents. The bankers would take the client out to dinner. And they say, well, what would you rather do, draft documents or take clients to dinner? So, of course, I prefer to take clients to dinner. And so I joined Credit Suisse, first Boston at the time. I thought I would stay a few years. I actually ended up staying 23 years. And as you said, 15 years ago now, which seems like yesterday, we started GIP. And I think all of the things I've done along the way, most of the time I was at Credit Suisse First Boston, what I did was actually advised companies, governments. One of the things I did also was on infrastructure projects and infrastructure investments. So I figured, well, why don't I go and become an infrastructure investor myself? And when we started GIP, I actually went to see Henry Kravis, who ran KKR, and asked him for advice. He said, I have two pieces of advice for you. He said, the first is, just remember, anybody can buy a business, okay? You just have to pay more than the next guy. So it's not when you buy a business that you celebrate. It's when you sell it at a profit. So I said, well, that sounds like good advice. He said, the second piece of advice I have for you is, he said, look, there is no substitute for experience in the investing business. And I remember thinking at the time, well, what's he talking about? This is not that complicated. I've advised on, almost $1 trillion of M&A transactions, all of that. And, 15 years later, I actually had dinner with Henry the other day. And I said, Henry, you won't remember this, but that was the best advice you ever gave me, because in fact, there is no experience. There's no substitute for experience in these things. So, the career has been interesting. It hasn't been planned, but what I'd say is, and my advice to young professionals is, there are lots of times in your career where opportunities present themselves that involve some measure of risk. Don't be afraid to take risk, right? When I went from law to banking, it was a risk. There was no guarantee that I succeeded banking, but I thought it was interesting. And, so I was, somewhat successful. When we went into the investment business, again, there was no guarantee that I would be successful in it. But again, it's sort of worked out well. And I think I see too many instances of people who have opportunities and are reluctant to take advantage of those opportunities.
Thank you, Bayo. Fascinating. And indeed, actually, one of our programs, our first programs and initiatives as EnterpriseNGR is a national internship program. And the whole idea is for the young Nigerian man or woman to be exposed in the same way that you were, Bayo. And hopefully we will have several Bayo Ogunlesis, a male and female form, doing great things in Nigeria for Nigeria and of course for the world. Now, I think that many Nigerians think about our country and say, there are many things to fix. Okay, I want us to focus in this discussion on the issue of financial services. The country the schools you went to before you left, the friends you have, and then you look at other African nations. I mean, I don't feel, neither does anybody in EnterpriseNGR feel that we're operating anywhere where we should be. What are your views on what we can begin to do to be to Europe and the world, what London is, and in Africa, to take that type of preeminent position?
Look, that's a very good question. Look, Obi said it in remarks. It is clear that Nigeria has not lived up to its full potential. In fact, I remember when I was a CSFP, I used to do some work in a number of other African countries. And I remember going to Botswana. And, but small country, very successful economically. And the president at the time, he said, I've been thinking about something. I said, what is it? He said, well, I've been thinking about the fact that there is a God. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, if you look objectively, you think God was unfair because he put most of the resources in Africa in Nigeria. He put most of the people in Africa in Nigeria. He said, but the reason that I have concluded that God is fair is because he put Nigerians in Africa. And Nigerians are a notoriously hard group of people to corral and to push in the same direction. I think the first thing that EnterpriseNGR should do is advocate for the creation of a very, very strong financial system in Nigeria. Obviously, Nigeria is very blessed with the fact that, through the leadership of people such as the chairman, we have a very strong banking system. And the Nigerian banks have been very successful, or more or less successful, in expanding in other African countries. But it takes more than a strong banking system to have a strong financial services system, because, what does it take to be successful in the financial services system? It has to attract capital and make it easy to match, users and providers of capital. I think one of the challenges that people have in Nigeria is that is not an easy thing to do. The foreign exchange system is a little bit opaque. The insurance services system is not as strong as it should be. And I think one of the keys, I think Nigeria will never achieve its full potential unless it has a very strong and robust financial services system. And I think in thinking about this, the thing we need to remember is Nigeria is in competition. Okay, competing for resources, we're competing for capital, we're competing for talent. And as a global investor, there's nothing that says I have to invest in Nigeria. If I was in the oil industry, maybe I have to invest in Nigeria. But absent that, I just don't. I look for places where I can generate the most attractive returns for my investors. Okay, and so Nigeria has to make it very clear to the world that we're open for business. Now, the exciting thing about Nigeria today is I was in a meeting with the CEO of I think it was Microsoft, who had just come back from Nigeria. I think this was pre-COVID, and he said he was incredibly excited. I said, "Well, why are you excited?" He said, Nigeria is one of the I wasn't even aware of this, the most interesting places in terms of the development or the nascent development of software and tech services industry. The CEO of YouTube Music is a good friend of mine. He was in Nigeria just pre-COVID. Again, he came back and he said, look, the Nigerian music scene is incredible. So we have all of the potential, and the thing we need to do is to put it together. And I think what EnterpriseNGR can do is be an advocate to government, be a powerful voice or providing advice, sometimes lobbying to make sure that we continue to move in the right direction. And I think with all of the talent, I see you have 600 people on this session, which I think is incredibly exciting. And I think it augurs well for the future of EnterpriseNGR, but more importantly, for the things that we can get done from Nigeria.
But whilst you say that you don't invest in Nigeria, or there are no headline investments, I see a wonderful Nigerian artwork behind you, Yusuf Julo. So we know that the art space in Nigeria feels your dollar power.
Absolutely. Actually, my wife and I, we only invest in contemporary African art, and most of it is either Nigerian or Ghanaian, and some cases South Africa.
Fantastic. Please keep investing. You know, there was this headline, I loved it, the Nigerian who bought Gatwick Airport. That was, our headline when you did the deal. Just for a minute, right, for our audience, could you just kind of, put us into the mind of the deal maker, what these, big deals, really involve, and the role that lawyers, accountants, and bankers and financiers and asset managers play in all these things?
Right. I mean, we started laying the groundwork by, we bought Gatwick in 2009, and we sold a 50% interest in it a couple of years ago. So we still continue to manage it with Vansi. But we laid the groundwork for buying Gatwick in 2006. When we made our first airport investment. We bought City Airport, which is a small airport in the financial district in London. And the reason we bought City Airport was because we thought if we ran City Airport well, when it was time to get Gatwick or to offer to buy Gatwick, the airlines would actually be advocates with the UK government because we're not known as an airport operator. The reason we knew Gatwick was going to be for sale was Gatwick at the time was owned by the same group that owned Heathrow, and the UK competition authorities had said they had to sell one of the two. So we ran City Airport well, and indeed, when we made the offer for Gatwick, it was actually BA, Lufthansa, Swiss. They were the strongest advocates for us doing that. But unfortunately for Ferrovial, who was the principal shareholder, they were forced to sell Gatwick in 2009, which was obviously in the midst of the financial crisis. So they decided to run an auction, and GIP was the only person that showed up. So I remember flying to Spain to meet with Rafael Del Pino, who was the chairman of Ferrovial. I met with him on a Sunday, and I made my offer to him in Madrid. And he said, he was very visibly angry. He said, "You wasted my time. You made me leave my weekend place to fly to Madrid to meet with you for this insulting offer." And he went on and on and on and on. I said, "Well, look, this is the offer, and run your process, see if you can get a higher price." Unfortunately for him, nobody was willing to invest money at the time. So when he came back to us, we actually reduced our price, and he was forced to sell it to us. And we've since I think we've done a decent job running Gatwick. And when we sold it, I think we made something like 10 times the money we invested in it. So it was a pretty successful investment.
Fantastic. The art of the deal, and in your life also, art is a big deal. I truly admire you, Bayo, for many reasons. I think we've had these discussions about society values and things like that. You chaired the AFC, where I was a non-executive director at our very early stages, helped to build the foundations of what is today, one of Africa's premier financial institutions. If you were to just speak to a young Nigerian about character and about the way they should model themselves, how would you, express these thoughts to my son or daughter, or anybody in that matter for their future?
Sure. Look, I think the very thing that is most important is character. I remember somebody once, saying to me, he said, when you think about what you do you want it to be on the front page of the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, or the Financial Times? And if it is, would your mother or your father be proud of you, okay, or satisfied with what you've done? And I remember, the hardest thing I ever had to do was to explain to my parents. My father's a professor of medicine, my mother ran a school. So they had no real familiarity with financial services business. And when I was working at Travath, they understood that. When I told them I was going to CSFB, I remember my mom saying to me, "So are you going to be a teller in a bank? I said, no. He said, well, okay, are you going to be a commercial banker? I said, no. And so she said, what on earth is this investment bank thing? And I tried to explain it, and she still couldn't get it. I still couldn't get it. And when they finally ran the story about us buying, and of course I'd left this at the time, when they ran the stories about us buying Gatwick, she called me up and said, oh, now I understand what it is that you do. So I had to do something completely different for her to understand. But look, I think in all things, you have to be true to yourself. You have to be true to your own values. You have to remember what's important, and you have to be grounded. I think you have to be serious in what you do, but I don't think you shouldn't take yourself too seriously, because I think if you take yourself too seriously, you'll run into trouble. I think you should certainly not believe any of your own PR. In fact, I think one of the things I've enjoyed, I've been married to my wife for 36 years. And when we got married, I said to her, the day you find out that I'm starting to believe my own crap, I'm going to sign a piece of paper where you can get me committed to a mental institution or some other place, so that I can always remain grounded. I think it's very important that you remain grounded. Look, there are lots of people who are talented who don't succeed. You have to work hard. I think that goes without saying. But you also, more than anything else, you have to be willing to take risks, and you have to be willing to challenge yourself. You have to be willing to do what Ige has done, right? Ige had a very successful career running one of the premier banks in Nigeria. He stepped down when he thought it was time, so he could do something else. And I think it's important that you keep reinventing yourself and keep developing and learning and growing, because otherwise, things are not, you'll atrophy. And I think that's important to do as an individual. Anyway, long-winded answer to your very simple question.
Thank you, Bayo. And you have shown the world that the ability of an individual to reinvent themselves for good, really rests in their own hands. Thank you very much for joining me in this conversation. Thank you for imparting very strong words of wisdom, particularly, don't believe your own PR. And, God bless you. One ask by EnterpriseNGR. We will be coming to the US as part of our advocacy and market expansion efforts. You will promise to host at least one event where, you will call all your friends who are the high and mighty in global finance and beyond, to listen to us. Is that a promise we can hold you to?
Yeah, that is certainly a promise you can hold me to. I remember the last time I did something like this was when OBJ was president, and he came to Nigeria, and we hosted. We brought a whole bunch of CEOs, and it was very interesting. His message to all of these CEOs was, Nigeria is open for business, and I think it is important that we continue to send that message across the globe, that Nigeria is open for business, that it's a place where you can do good business, that it's a place that has talented individuals, that has resources. And if His Excellency the Vice President and the Minister of Finance are still on, I would encourage them to make it easier to do business in Nigeria for international companies. If we do that, I think Nigeria has boundless potential. I continue to be very encouraged by young Nigerians that I meet in the US who are unlike me, and I think this is the hope for Nigeria. Are determined to go back and to turn the place into the true realization of what Nigeria can be. And I think EnterpriseNGR is an incredibly important step in doing that. And so I salute all of you for what you're doing, and I would be very, very happy to support in any way that I can. So thank you for having me, and been a pleasure. And have a good afternoon, have a good morning for those of us in the US. Good evening if you're in Asia. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Adebayo Ogulesi. Words of wisdom, gems, pearls. You've done a wonderful job. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Back to you, Wale.
All I can say is, wow. It's always inspiring to hear from people like this. And I think the biggest takeaway from the exchange for me is that one, great investment bankers are great storytellers. It seems you have to have that in your DNA somehow. And we're decades old. And of course, we also must commend Ike for doing a great job asking the right questions. And from the exchanges that we're seeing on the chat field, the audience were blown away. Very excited. Thank you so much for making the time, Mr. Wulesi, and of course, Mr. Ike Mokwede for moderating that session. We'll now move on to a panel discussion. And this session will be moderated by Mr. Bola Onodele Koko, who is the Chief Executive Officer at FMDQ Group, Africa's first vertically integrated financial market infrastructure group. And I would like to, in the interest of time, just quickly introduce all the speakers, or the panelists rather, starting with Ms. Kofo Dosekun, who is the chairperson of the prestigious law firm Aluko and Oyebode. We also have Mrs. Omobola Johnson, who is chairperson at Custodian Investment PLC and former Federal Minister for Communications Technology, as well as former Managing Director of Accenture. We also have joining us for this, excuse me, Mr. Kayode Akinkugbe, who is the Managing Director and CEO of FBN Quest Merchant Bank, a leading player in Nigeria's financial services space. We also, sometimes I just think he's Nigerian, he's so invested here. Partner and chief economist at PwC Nigeria. We also have Mr. Scott Devine, he's head Middle East and Africa at the UK, the Industry Advocacy Group on Services Industry of the United Kingdom. And last but certainly not least, we have Mr. Rahul Ghosh, who is the Regional Group Director for Africa at Enterprise Singapore, a statutory board under the Ministry of Trade and Industry of the Singapore government. It's established to support Singaporean small and medium enterprises in their development, to upgrade their capabilities, and to also help them innovate, transform, and go international. So on that note, I'd like to hand over now to Mr. Bola Onodele Koko to moderate this session. It's over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Wale, and good day, our distinguished panelists. Before we roll on, I'd like to say one thing about the chairman of EnterpriseNGR. Participants may not know, but that was the brain and energy leading and championing the establishment of FMDQ, and he was the inaugural chairman. Mr. Agi Mokwede has the Midas touch. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be a moderator of today's panel with the topic Enterprise and Actualizing the Nigerian Potential. Indeed, a lot has been said about that potential. Is it Singapore, United Kingdom, or United States? I have a star-studded team of panelists, and our time is short indeed. We're coming after the inspiring session between Ike and Mr. Wulesi, but we'll try our best. Without further ado, I will begin by asking the panelists to give quick comments about the role of financial and potential services sector in economic development. I'm going to start with you, Andrew, and after your 2 minutes, very strictly 2 minutes, and we call on Kayode. Andrew.
Thank you to EnterpriseNGR, great for us to be part of it, and thank you to the Honorable Vice President, the Honorable Minister for their kind words. Just a fantastic session. Just very quickly, let's just quantify this. I mean, we all know we need investment in Nigeria. The number that we have put out to get inclusive growth, every industry, people sometimes ask us what industries should we focus on. The reality, the scale of Nigeria, every industry is important, whether it's manufacturing, services, power, infrastructure, consumer goods, healthcare, education, transportation, residential real estate, residential, commercial. So, how does this happen? I mean, at the end of the day, if we're going to have an investment of 50 trillion naira, we need well-functioning capital markets, well-functioning insurance, in addition to the strong banking sector. But we also need professional and financial services cohort that can drive these transactions. Every investment requires structuring. Every investment requires lawyers. It requires investment bankers. and it requires other sorts of professionals in there. So I think the role of Enterprise NGR is to help put this group together in a way that we can really facilitate this investment across the board on that. But without a very solid foundation of the finance and professional services firms, we're not going to be able to get there. But I look forward to seeing this investment in 50 or $60 trillion a year in what should be the world's most dynamic economy.
Thank you very much, Andrew, and thank you for saving some seconds there. Kayode, I come to you now, Kayode.
And good afternoon, and all protocols observed. I agree fundamentally with what has been said. The financial sector is pivotal in the development of any economy, whether it's financial services or even the professional services. Financial services, as we've seen, when things go wrong in the financial services sector, this can lead to a recession. Just like when things go very well, you have the opportunity for growth and creation of capital. So really, the financial services sector is, in my view, at the fulcrum of economic activity. An efficient operating financial services community ensures smooth transition of capital from the users and to the providers. From the providers to the users. That can ultimately lead to the creation of wealth and prosperity. I also think that the financial services space is one that effectively we are enablers. We intersect with so many different sectors, and as much as possible, we try and catalyze the system. It's an ecosystem that fosters entrepreneurship, healthy competition, and I think a lot of innovation. So very fundamental to the success of any economy.
Thank you very much, Kayode. Scott, what's your view on that, the role of financial and professional services in economic development?
Thank you, Coco, and also to Lami Nobi and the team at EnterpriseNGR. It's been an absolute pleasure and privilege to be joining you all today from London for this historic launch event on behalf of the City UK. So for those of you who might have just tuned in, we're the industry-led body representing UK financial and professional services, and our industry in the UK contributes over 10% of the country's total economic output, employs more than 2.3 million people, with 2/3 of these jobs outside London. We're the largest taxpayer, the biggest exporting industry, and we generate a trade surplus that exceeds all other net exporting industries combined. So it makes a real difference to people in their daily lives, helping them save for the future, buy a home, invest in businesses, and protect and manage risk. So we've seen the economic development, we've seen in our projects overseas how financial and professional services can play a key role in economic development. We've worked on development projects with regulators, officials, and other private sector stakeholders in countries such as Russia, Malaysia, Turkey, and Uzbekistan to help them develop core financial infrastructures. For example, in Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, we brought a range of UK experts to advise country authorities on how to develop legal and regulatory infrastructure for an international financial center in Nur Sultan and Tashkent. And we've also, in Turkey, convened a group of practitioners to advise Turkish regulators and businesses on how to develop Islamic finance capabilities, so to cater for a large domestic audience of underbanked citizens. So we've truly, through our project, seen the economic development value of financial and professional services and how we can make a real difference.
Thank you very much, Scott. And I now go to Kofo. Kofo, you're a lawyer, so you should be able to speak to this as much as Mr. Ogunlesi did. What is the role of professional services sector in economic development? Kofo was my senior in Citibank, so Cisco, go ahead.
Okay, thank you very much. I think honestly, I guess Speaker Bayo has laid a very good foundation. The reality is, when you look at the numbers today with regard to the foreign direct investment in Nigeria and in other parts of Africa and Asia, we begin to ask ourselves, we have everything, so what is the issue? And the issue really is that there has to be a legal system that works. And the reality is, how do we strengthen, our legal system? It's all about strengthening those institutions that have a bearing, right, on sanctity of contracts and rule of law. So we talked today about independence of the judiciary. The governments at the end of the day should be doing a lot of that. So that's my contribution to that first question. And then we can talk about sanctity of contracts and rule of law. The coming question. Thank you.
Much later. Thank you very much. And I'll go to Omobola, former CEO in Code of Accenture, former minister of this country, must have been at important places where decisions are being taken about economic development. Omobola, can you speak to this topic?
Thank you very much, Coco. If I may, I wanted to speak on the topic in my capacity as the board chair of Custodian Investments, which is a holding company for a number of insurance companies. And to take that perspective, Mr. Ogunlesi actually mentioned it in his remarks, talking about the importance of insurance in actually enabling any economy. The insurance industry does two things for any economy. First of all, it provides the impetus or the capacity for risk-taking and innovation because of the safety net that insurance gives. So you can actually be a lot more innovative around business models, around how you're going to build your economies, first of all. The second thing that insurance does is that it creates resilience in a business, resilience in communities, resilience in individuals. And because of that resilience, you can, that you can bounce back in the event of unforeseen circumstances. So that's the role of insurance in any economy: resilience, innovation, and the capacity to take risks. There is a collateral benefit, and that is, again, I think was sort of alluded to by Mr. Ogunlesi, in the sense that when we pay all these risk premiums, either as individuals or as companies, there is a very large pool of capital, significant capital, not so much in Nigeria, but in other parts of the world. And that capital can then be used for lower risk investments. So any economy requires investments in infrastructure and people. And it's these pools of capital that are created by the insurance industry that actually help to provide that capital. So I've spoken very specifically around the role of insurance in financial services and in building any economy. And we can talk later about how well the Nigerian insurance industry has done. Thanks.
Thank you very much. The last person to speak on this topic is Rahul. Rahul is from Enterprise Singapore. Rahul, you've done it, so you should be able to give us the perfect case study. What is the role?
Thanks, Coco. Thank you so much. And first off, very big congratulations to the EnterpriseNGR launch. It's great to see the work that's being done. Let me just start off first by just introducing Enterprise Singapore for those who don't know. We are a part of the Singapore government. We are an agency under the Ministry of Trade and Industry, and our primary mandate centers around enterprise development. So we work with around 300,000 plus companies on a daily basis in Singapore on three fronts. The first is improving productivity. The second is enhancing the innovation capacity of these enterprises. And the third is internationalization. So I sit on the international side of the house. I'm speaking to you from Nairobi. We have similarly another 35 offices around the world. And the offices, primarily what they do is comb international markets looking for business and investment opportunities for our Singapore companies to partake in. Now, of course, what that means is we lean very, very heavily on professional and financial services companies to really help us demystify foreign markets, understand what are the sectoral insights, what's happening there, and also dig out some of the opportunities. And that allows us to align what is available in Singapore and really create win-win partnerships. So that's our role. It's really a government body, but really taking on very much a private sector kind of mandate to help at the end of the day, the enterprises in Singapore.
Fantastic. It's good to hear that sort of synergy in government and business. We'll go to the question section. The City UK is an organization we at EnterpriseNGR have studied in detail and seek to emulate. Indeed, as Ike said, the Nigerian Stock Exchange then visited the City UK. Unknown to us in FMDQ, we did the same thing, and later Ike brought everybody together. So Scott, I'm going to ask you, I actually wanted to shed more light on the City UK and the interesting work you're doing with respect to advocating for UK's financial and professional services sector. And also areas, please, if you can, highlight areas where we can learn from as we start our journey today. And I'm going to give you enough time for this, so I'm generous with 3 minutes to speak on this. Scott.
Thank you, Coco. Thank you for being generous. So this is potentially quite a broad question, so I'll try and focus my answer on some of what I believe to be the keys to the City UK success in the 3 minutes I have. So looking at the advocacy profile document that you've produced, I think you've made a good start in focusing on several of these factors. But the 4 matters that I'll focus on today are membership, member outreach, strategy, and finally, messaging and advocacy. So on the membership side, it's about building and retaining membership, and you've clearly made a good start on the building side. So the City UK was established in the wake of the global financial crisis, and it was the brainchild of the then Chancellor of the Exchequer and also the then London Mayor, who happened to be Boris Johnson, who felt that the industry needed an umbrella body to advocate for it when the public impressions of the industry were probably at an all-time low. So we draw much of our strength and our differentiation from others by truly representing the breadth and depth of the related professional services and financial services ecosystem. Next, I guess the seniority of our industry stakeholders that we're able to draw on brings influence and access to senior ministers. Again, another differentiating factor from other bodies. It also makes it possible to build on existing relationships between business leaders and policymakers, which can be critical, particularly at the outset of your organization. For example, we have a leadership council that brings together 60 of the most senior leaders from the industry. And the council approves our strategy and its members on our major programs of work. So next, member outreach, creating governance structures to make sure that you truly understand the needs of your members and have their buy-in. It needs to be truly industry-led. And one of the things that we've learned that it's difficult, the whole ecosystem won't agree on everything. So you need to avoid taking strong positions on issues which there are variances of opinion across the ecosystem, and avoid pitting subsectors against one another. Building consensus is essential. Moving to strategy, developing a strategy and focusing your outputs on it. The City UK's work is built around its 6 strategic priorities, which are long-term competitiveness, UK regions and nations, future UK-EU relationship, international trade and investment, trust and reputation, and sustainability. And realizing I'm almost at the end of my time, I'll move on to the final point, which is messaging and advocacy. So as mentioned earlier, we were established in the wake of the global financial crisis when public perceptions were at rock bottom. And although the industry retains some negative connotations for some people, we have consistently sought to remind policymakers that we're a critical part of a strong economy and we make a direct positive contribution to society. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you very much. I'm now going to call on Kayode. Kayode, FBN Quest Merchant Bank and organizations like yours stand at the gateway of enterprise in every economy. As a top leading investment banker, you've worked internationally and for some years now in Nigeria. What investment opportunities do you see in Nigeria, and how do you reckon EnterpriseNGR can help harness these opportunities?
Thank you again, Bola. As has been said, I think already, Nigeria is a country with tremendous potential. Almost everywhere you look, there seems to be opportunity. But I think what we need to do and what EnterpriseNG can help us do is move away from, having potential to actually actualizing and optimizing this potential. And I think there's a huge amount of opportunities that can have a multiplier effect if harnessed in Nigeria. Around, for example, the agri-space, around the non-bank financial services space, which presents a lot of opportunity. If we look at the non-bank financial services space, you have fintech, which there's been a lot of activity in. But interestingly enough, I believe as of 2019, fintech only accounted for about 1.25% of retail banking revenues in 2019. So there's still so much scope to do in fintech. There's payment services that presents another opportunity. As Dr. Johnson had said, the insurance space, where we have penetration in Nigeria just around 1%. And in South Africa, I believe it's over 13%. Again, huge opportunity there for risk management, for additional long-term capital. The pension and asset management space we've seen grow significantly. Again, big opportunity there. And then around agriculture, it's more around the mechanized and the technology side that you see opportunity. And then another important aspect, which is a gap that we have and a key enabler, is the infrastructure space. And we've seen, again, whether it's sort of social type infrastructure around the healthcare space, we've seen the impact of COVID, and we all had to be looking inwards and see how we need to strengthen our healthcare system. And in fairness to government, I think they're even allocating a little bit more nowadays towards the healthcare sector, heavy infrastructure, roads. I mean, the government and private sector are actually participating very well in terms of trying to develop, whether it's roads, whether it's other transportation networks, railway, et cetera. And I think something like Enterprise UK will help to engage government in advocacy to ensure that we can come up with policies that make a lot of sense to enable these sectors.
Thank you, Kayode. Thank you very much. Andrew, in view of the global market trends, what priority reforms do you believe will help catalyze economic growth in Nigeria? You're Canadian, you've been in Nigeria for some time, you've seen it all. As Wale said, some people even believe you're in Nigeria now.
Well, it's sad to say because I'm so old, I've seen it all. So let me start off by saying, when I look around the global economy, I think there are lots of flashing warning signs, amber, perhaps red. I mean, we have the Evergrande situation in China, which may grow into a financial crisis. I'll say it here, having lived through the last several financial crises. We have increasing inflation across Europe, the UK, the United States, which now exceeds interest rates, a form of financial repression. And the reason that I say this is because sometimes in Nigeria, we talk about external events and sort of think they're going to help out in our economy. The way I would put it is we can't depend on the outside. I mean, the Nigerian economy has so many opportunities, but we can rely on ourselves, and we should be doing well regardless of what happens in the global external economy. We're not dependent on it. We are the greatest opportunity on the planet. In terms of specific things that we've been talking about for the last couple of years, let me highlight a few of them. To begin with, I mean, we did put out the paper, it's not a new concept. We said, look, Nigeria, but it has too many dead assets on that. And so the number one policy is how do we unlock these dead assets? They include, of course, real estate assets. We understand the complexity around the governance of real estate, the mortgage market, titling, all of those things need to be resolved. It also includes government assets that produce no return. We're all familiar with Ajaokuta Steel, refineries that don't produce any oil, the National Theatre, which is a national treasure, but not producing a return for us. So the number one place to start is let's unlock these dead assets and get a return from all the richness that Nigeria has on that. A second area we think that's really critical is we've always talked about the ease of doing business, but the reality is the physical constraints in Nigeria are not easily solved. Ports, infrastructure, roads, et cetera. We would like to see more emphasis on the service economy. 70% of the world's economy is services. And we're already seeing some incredible things happening in services. I mean, I'll cite Amal Hassan's amazing. She's a national heroine in Nigeria who has a business processing outsourcing company in northern Nigeria in Maiduguri, Kaduna, and Abuja, 1,200 seats. These are young Nigerians, university educated, earning high wages and earning 4x for Nigeria. But it just highlights that the way to insert Nigeria into the global value chain is through the services. So let's create policies that actually recognize not just goods, because when we think of AFCFTA, or we think of trade, or we think of exports, people tend to gravitate to goods. But in fact, we think that the path forward for Nigeria is services. It's financial services, where you already have major organizations, including, of course, Access Bank, marching across Africa. It includes the BPO type things, the coding type things that I just alluded to. It includes international companies like Google coming and setting up development centers. And it also includes, of course, the cultural industries, which are already a major export industry. If they get organized better with better policy, we'll see those really drive the economy. So let me stop there. More opportunities elsewhere, but those two policy areas are really key for our focus.
Thank you very much, Andrew. We're going to the rule of law now. Ig is a lawyer. Bayo Ogunle is a lawyer. Our respected leader, Benga Oyebode, a lawyer. And we have Kofodo Sekun, a senior lawyer herself. The role of rule of law must be very key to any economy and the development of enterprise. What policies should be in place? And you started speaking to this earlier, to improve rule of law and sanctity of contracts in Nigeria.
Thank you very much, Coco. Like I mentioned earlier, the policies that should be put in place to improve rule of law and sanctity of contracts are those that should be geared to strengthening the institutions whose work have a bearing on sanctity of contracts and rule of law, in particular the judiciary. The government must formulate policies in which the independence of the judiciary is guarded and assured, policies that will mandate building capacity and enhancing the skills of judiciary and government officials. The other day, I think it was Access Bank that did a session with the judges on derivatives. And I thought that was good because sometimes you go before them and they begin to, sometimes they don't understand the transactions. So we need more of that. Policies that will encourage the government agencies to work with legal professionals to strengthen the legal framework. Lagos State is doing a bit of that. They're approaching law firms for secondments, for training. So we need government policies in that direction. So the private sector will begin to provide training and capacity building to the judiciary, government officials, will assist in legislative drafting and law reform. We also need policies that support the appointment of judges and court officials in a transparent and merit-driven manner. Investors will begin to have a lot more confidence. A rigorous process for enforcing ethics and integrity amongst judges and lawyers as well. Investors get frustrated sometimes. You go to court, there's a problem. Our court system today, we need policies in which will ensure that justice is delivered in a timely manner, competent and clear. Regulators are not excluded from this. Policies in which regulators are required to observe the process of fairness and respect for legitimate expectations in licensing decisions which impact investment. Very critical for investors, very critical for APIs. And the last point is, as parties begin to move, parties are already using arbitration as a basis for dispute resolution. Nigerian courts have a key role to play in ensuring they don't interfere in the arbitration process and the awards. Injunctions by Nigerian courts, where the parties have clearly subjected to themselves to arbitration clauses, right, should be a thing of the past. It shouldn't even be entertained at all. Amazing. So as we continue on our journey, and I know I need to round up now, we need policies that will continue to promote well-developed justice system, their engagement with stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kofo. Mobola, each time I listen to you, I come close, I feel the passion, whatever you're doing, be it consulting or, trying to sort Nigerian communications industry out. And I saw the same thing with insurance, which is your new baby. Insurance obviously is critical to every economy. It's actually the largest financial services subsector in most developed countries. However, this is not the case in Nigeria. The penetration is less than 1%. What can we do to improve the performance of this subsector? In 3 minutes, Mobola, I want to feel the passion as usual.
Thank you, Coco. I think before I answer the question, it's important to interrogate, why do we have 1% penetration in Nigeria? And I remember my time in Accenture, we used to call, when we're doing very exciting work for banks, including Access Bank, we call the insurance sector the poor relative of the banking industry. That's how they were seen to us. And in looking at why do we have only 1% penetration? First of all, I think that 1% is really around mandated insurance, that is by law or regulatory or whatever. You have to have that insurance. So we're looking at affordability. Most Nigerian consumers are low-income earners, and so asking them to pay annual premiums for something that may never happen, is very difficult. They're not going to do it. Second is around, this what I would call, related to the Nigerian consumers, what I would call that sort of religious sentiment. And I say that, and I think that the audience will understand, and that is the fact that believing that, when you do things like insurance or you write wills, you're almost calling these things upon yourselves. So if you take out insurance against a death or whatever it is, you're calling death upon yourself. That's a very, very strong, very established, well-established and very well-rooted cultural thing that we have to guard against, we have to work against. And the third thing is around trust. The insurance industry, yes, it has come of age, but in the past, this was an industry that was, sharp practices, you pay your premiums, to get your claims out would be difficult, you wouldn't get the right amounts, all kinds of things. So those three things are really what is mitigating against what I would call the discretionary insurance that we need to really move from that 1%. What can we do about it very quickly? I think there are three things that we can do about it. I think first of all, it's around innovation. We've mentioned that as a number of my colleagues have mentioned this already. Innovation around microinsurance. How do you make insurance affordable? Paying small premiums regularly instead of this big annual premium that we pay. It's really looking at innovation around products. How do we get products that take into consideration the religious or the cultural context? You can't get rid of those things. How do you take those things into consideration? And then finally, I think it's a point that Scott made. It's around messaging and advocacy. Why is insurance important? Why do I need to take out insurance? How does it make my life better? I think those are the things that we really need to do as an industry. Better messaging, better advocacy around why it's important to take insurance. Regulation is an important point. We need to, the regulator needs to call operators out when they see sharp practices. One thing that is important, I think, and I suspect our regulator is in this audience today, or it's really, we should stop pussyfooting around the need to have better capitalized insurance companies. Because if we don't have these better capitalized insurance companies, we're never going to grow this industry. The banking industry went through this terrible disruption when, I think it was Charles Saluda that was governor then, that really said, if you're not a bank that has, I think it was 20 billion in capital, you can't operate in Nigeria. And we need to do that in the insurance industry. Look what has happened to the banking industry. The third thing, and I have to say this as I remove my hat of board chair and my technology hat on, is that technology, it is absolutely important. We need to bring technology into the insurance industry. Technology for convenience, for efficiency, for affordability, for speed, everything. Technology needs to play a very big part in what we're doing in the insurance industry.
Thank you very much, Mobola. Thank you. And this is a conversation we'll continue to have. There's a lot of work to do on insurance. And all the speakers, please, I'm going to come back to you very soon. You're going to have 1 minute to advise us on this journey of building the premier financial center in Africa. The last person to speak before I go to the wrap-up session is Rahul. Enterprise Singapore's work focused on internationalizing Singaporean businesses, and what you've achieved is commendable. I mean, for a government entity. I love reading about Singapore and a lot of what you guys have achieved. Can you elaborate on how you go about this and what lessons EnterpriseNGR can learn in doing same with Nigerian businesses? How have you done it? Rahul.
Thank you, Coco. Thank you, Coco, and thanks for the kind words. So it's a broad question. There's multiple facets. Let me try to kind of home in on the key ingredient, and it's very simple. It's really about very tight demand and supply matching. And let me elaborate a little bit on that. What it means for us on the overseas, on the international side, it means our offices need to work with partners, many of your members, to really understand what's out there in the market. What are some of the opportunities? What are the projects on the table? And also it's important for us to engage directly with the key players. So that means talking to the top 10, 15 private sector players in Nigeria across different sectors, really understanding what it is that they are doing today, and then looking into 5 years and understanding where they would like to be and what kind of gaps they think they need to plug. So that's on the demand side. Of course, we do the same with government as well. On the supply side, I mentioned previously that we work very closely with Singapore companies, really building up their capacity. And what that gives us is really a view into what they're capable of and what their potential is. So we know what their solutions are. So really now putting the two together, it's about taking what are the problems out in the market. We call it internally the problem statements, very much market-led demand. Then speaking to the relevant Singapore companies who have the solutions. Many a time it's not one company. We need to put together maybe 5, 7 companies on a consortium basis. Sometimes it requires tailoring of products because the Nigerian market demands are very different from what we have in Singapore. So we have grants and some sort of financial assistance around that. And at the end of the day, it's bringing that consortium back to Nigeria, putting them in front of who own that problem, and working again with some of your members, the professional and financial service firms, to identify local partners, because many a time the projects are so big and it really requires local knowledge. We don't have that, and we have to say that we can't do it on our own. So many of the times it's our consortiums working with Nigerian companies and then really solving a problem that is in Nigeria. It could be a private sector problem, it could be a public sector problem. But the idea really is to kind of help bring solution providers together from both sides. And at the end of the day, everyone wins. We take back profits to Singapore. Of course, the Nigerian partners make profits as well. And then you have a happy customer sitting in Nigeria.
Wow, thank you, Rahul. Take back profits to Singapore, very important, creating wealth, and the foreign exchange market must work, as Mr. Ogunlesi said much earlier. We have to make things easy for businesses. Thank you very much. We're going to have 7 minutes, and there's 6 of you, and I'm going to have 1 minute for us to do a wrap up, and it's going to be 1 minute each. What advice will you give Nigeria on its journey, because this is a Nigerian journey, to build the premier financial center in Africa? I'm going to start with you, Scott, and I believe our CEO was taking notes when you were speaking about City UK and your footprints. 1 minute, please. 1 minute.
Yeah, just quickly, I want to, as the head of legal services at the City UK, want to commend and endorse Kofo's comments on investor confidence and the importance of rule of law, independence of judiciary, and the legal framework. But going back to my comments, I think the one thing that I would pull out as one of the most important things to focus on is a continued focus on long-term competitiveness. And it's about having a legislative and regulatory environment that will enable that, not just financial and professional services regulation, but also policy on industry skills and talent, technology, international trade and investment, sustainability, and tax. So a focus on long-term competitiveness should run through all of your work. And City UK, just briefly, commends the excellent work done so far by your team and looks forward to working with you as you continue on your journey.
Thank you. Thank you, Scott. I'm sure we'll continue and we'll see you in London very soon. Coyote, 1 minute. How do we build this?
Coco. I think we need to be bold. I think we need to build institutions of scale. We've made some progress in the commercial banking space. I remember there was a time when for a Nigerian bank to write a check in an international financing of 5 million, it was a big deal. Now they can do 250 million, for example. But we need to build that scale. We really need to have scale so that we can compete internationally. And so to me, that's one important thing. Another thing is expanding the product offering. Again, I think Dr. Johnson has spoken to the importance of the risk management side of things. Giving more liquidity into the financial markets makes a huge difference. People are much more confident when they know potentially they can exit this opportunity, then they will go into this opportunity. And then obviously continue to develop our people. I think those are key things that we must do.
Thank you very much for good wrap up. Andrew, 1 minute.
Thank you so much. I guess what I'll add here is I actually think it's pretty simple. I mean, when we invest in young Nigerians, things work out. I mean, we coined the phrase self-organizing Nigeria. EnterpriseNGR is an example of this. It wasn't driven by the government like in the UK or in Singapore. It was simply prominent Nigerians saying there's a problem, we're self-organizing. And if we invested our scarce resources in young Nigerians, they could solve the problem. So rather than putting over ₦1 trillion into the dubious fuel subsidy at the risk of being a little political, all we need to do is invest in young Nigerians. I think I stood up once and said we need 10,000 investment bankers for the next 5 or 10 years. So we need 10,000 investment bankers. We probably need 50,000 professionals. But we've got lots of brilliant young Nigerians. If we invest in them, they'll make sure it happens.
Thank you, Andrew. Fantastic. I like that. Invest in young Nigerians. Kofo, 1 minute. How do we build?
I think for me, it is clear we need more meaningful engagement with government. We need government to have a listening ear. A lot of the time when you have engagement, what comes out is totally different from what you discussed. We need accountability, we need transparency, we need consistency in policies. We also need to be sure at the end of the day that investments are secure. We need a more stable financial exchange rate so our investors can be sure that, in the event that they need to take their money out, they can. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll go to Mobola.
What I would say is that, what we need to do is, first of all, recognize that, becoming a premier financial services center is not the responsibility or the sole responsibility of the financial services sector. We have to first recognize that. And in that recognition, it's to then understand that in this journey, there's going to be a tremendous amount of collaboration that is required. It's collaboration around how do we bring the right talent in, how do we use technology more to deliver more efficiency and more innovation. It's like Kofo said, it's around having government as a participant and a collaborator with us in all of this, involving every single sector of the economy. So I think it's really around, my advice is that we need to collaborate, and bring everybody in and just recognize that, yes, it's a financial services center, but it is not the sole responsibility of the financial services sector.
Thank you very much. Rahul, it's going to be your last word. What is your
Thanks. It's very simple for us, and it's really about, I'd hope that the financial center remains inclusive and accessible for all. Our experience has shown that large corporates tend to figure things out very quickly because they have the resources. SMEs don't. They're always bogged down with day-to-day operations. So as a government, we work very closely with the professional services and financial services people to sometimes carve out bite-sized products that SMEs can really take off the shelf. They don't need to think too much. But my advice is always remember that SMEs are the next big corporates. They're the next big movers and shakers. Don't forget them.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all of you, the panelists. I learned a lot from you. I'm going to try and spend 1 minute to summarize what we've heard, but it appears government and business, we can't divorce that relationship, and we need for our long-term competitiveness to be bold. We need to build institutions of scale. We need to take what we've done to banking, to insurance, increase the capital requirements, take it to capital markets, stockbrokers. We need to respect capital so we can attract capital to Nigeria. Rule of law is very key. And Andrew made mention of investing in young Nigerians. That is also very important. Of course, our vision is to be a leading voice and champion development and transformation of Nigeria. I promise you that is one mandate we've taken upon ourselves, and we're going to work hard on it. Young Nigerians, young professionals, your prosperity is knocking. Get your institutions to join EnterpriseNGR as members and listen to your seniors. I wish we could listen to a lot more of the sessions like Mr. Bayo Ogunlesi. Character is very important. I'm no longer interested in providing or trying to provide answers to what is holding Nigeria. Nigeria is about to leave the tarmac. Everybody, let's go there. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this session.
Give a virtual applause to the panelists and of course the moderator for doing an excellent job on the topic. So much to take away from, and I think Mr. Bola Onodele wrapped it all very nicely indeed. I think perhaps the only point that perhaps he could have emphasized a little more as we wrap things up was the point made by Rahul about inclusion and accessibility for all. But thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for that engagement. As we can see from the chat room, applause. Okay, I can see the applause now. Thank you very much. and much excitement about all that has been said. Many thanks again to all our speakers today. Before we begin to wrap things up, we have the pleasure of joining us. He did join us a little late, but we'd love to hear from him now, the Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria. So please welcome Mr. Lamido Yuguda as he delivers a few comments. Mr. Yuguda is over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. And apologies for my late arrival. I was actually coming, up from a flight that was delayed from Lagos to Abuja. So, but I'm really happy to be here. I listened to part of the, last, session, the panel session, and it was very interesting. So I'll give my speech now, and then His Excellency, the Vice President, Professor Yomi Osinbajo, the Honorable Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning, Mrs. Zainab Ahmed, distinguished dignitaries here present, ladies and gentlemen, I stand on the already established protocols. It gives me great pleasure to speak at the launch of this important professional advocacy group. Let me start by thanking the members of EnterpriseNGR for inviting me to deliver this goodwill message and for establishing this group with the objective of championing a conducive policy and regulatory environment to enable Nigeria's financial and professional sector thrive. Your goal of collaborating with the entire ecosystem of the financial professional services, industry, and government will no doubt create the partnership required to accelerate growth and efficiency in the financial system. As the apex regulator of the Nigerian capital market, the Securities and Exchange Commission is acutely aware of the role the capital market plays in the economic development of our nation. It serves a fundamental role in a modern economy by creating critical linkages that foster the productive and efficient allocation of capital so that the best investment and development opportunities receive the necessary funding. To position the Nigerian capital market as the premier investment destination in Africa, we developed a 10-year capital market master plan to serve as a blueprint for the evolution of the Nigerian capital market as an efficient and internationally competitive market that can support Nigeria's emergence as a top 20 global economy. Bearing this in mind, we are fully supportive of initiatives focused on attaining this vision. The Commission therefore pledges its support to EnterpriseNGR in its stated advocacy objective of transforming Nigeria into the premier financial services center in Africa. May I also commend the promoters of EnterpriseNGR for selecting astute professionals from every segment of the financial system as its founding members. The profile of the founding members speaks volumes and is proof of EnterpriseNGR's impact the Nigerian financial system. I'm confident that the Nigerian regulatory environment has a lot to benefit from your wealth of experience, and I honestly look forward to collaborating with you in your aspiration to emerge as a top 20, in our aspiration to emerge as a top 20 global economy. I would like to say, just two things for the promoters of EnterpriseNGR, and that is that we should focus, and I've had this, also repeated in some of the comments, from the panel. We should focus on finance for all business, and that means inclusive finance. I mean, we should focus, of course, on the big industrial and commercial enterprises, but also on the SMEs and the smaller companies, the women-led, businesses, and the youth-led businesses. I think if we do that, given our wealth of human resources, it is just a matter of time before we see that the objective of really emerging as a top 20 global economy could actually be quickly, realized. So with this, I thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak to you at this launch, and I congratulate you and wish you, all the best. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yuguda. Very well said. We certainly appreciate the support of the Securities and Exchange Commission, which is clearly a very important partner as we try to move to that target of Africa's premier financial services center. As we begin to wind things down today, to deliver some brief closing remarks, I'd like to now invite Mr. Oscar Onyema, the Group Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Exchange Group PLC. That's an institution that services the largest economy, of course, in Africa, and champions the development of Africa's financial markets. Mr. Onyema, it's over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Wade. Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to begin by expressing our sincere appreciation to His Excellency, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, GCON, the Vice President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, for honoring this invitation. We are delighted that you took time out of your busy schedule to be present with us. I would also like to extend special thanks to the Honorable Minister, Budget and National Planning, Hajia Zainab Ahmed, and the Director General, Securities and Exchange Commission, Dr. Lamido Yuguda, for their unwavering support and remarks during this event. Your support of our ongoing efforts is highly valued. To our distinguished guests, thank you for your active participation. I congratulate the Chairman, Board of Directors, the CEO, and the entire team at EnterpriseNGR on this remarkable event. I'm encouraged by our collective commitment and enthusiasm to champion a conducive policy and regulatory environment to enable Nigeria's financial and professional services sector thrive, both domestically and internationally. The insights shared today by our speakers and esteemed guests have deepened our collective understanding of the challenges and opportunities that abound in the country. EnterpriseNGR is poised to work in partnership with policymakers to unlock these opportunities and create a bigger and better financial and professional services sector with high positive impact on the Nigerian economy. We thank our panelists for the invaluable contributions to the discourse and the really insightful chat by our special guest, Mr. Bayo Ogulesi, on the role of financial and professional services sector in fostering economic growth and development. It was indeed an enriching expository session, which we hope will catalyze our drive towards the greatness we so desire for our dear country. A big thank you to our friends from the City UK and Enterprise Singapore. We hope to further deepen our relationships in the years to come. Finally, to the member organizations of EnterpriseNGR, we appreciate your substantive inputs and hard work that led to this successful event. Let me use this opportunity to reiterate our invitation to like-minded organizations to join forces with EnterpriseNGR to build a formidable financial and professional services sector and a stronger Nigeria. I thank the moderators and the entire staff of EnterpriseNGR for working to make this event such a successful one. Thank you very much, and do enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Oscar. Very well said. Thanks all around to everyone that has supported us in putting this together. In closing, I'll just say a few words as we begin to wind things down. It's not every day you see corporate Nigeria come together to do something with no agendas. It's not a profit motive, but it's simply an aspiration to see Nigeria really emerge as a truly great nation on the African continent. So the destination is the premier financial services center in Africa. I hope that we've all been inspired to get on board. Before you leave, I'd just like to, again, thank you again for joining us. You can find more information about EnterpriseNGR on our website, www.enterprisengr.com. Please check it out. Also follow us on our social media touch points and share your thoughts. If you are sharing some thoughts about this event, again, the hashtag is #Voices of Enterprise. Have a good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you at the next event.
The financial and professional services sector is critical to every nation. I dare say it is the backbone of all successful economies. The cross-cutting nature of the sector makes it impact all other economic sectors, be it technology, oil and gas, manufacturing, agriculture, and so on. There is almost a perfect relationship between the performance of financial services and national growth and development. My name is Aigbuji Ike Imokwede, and I take pride in the fact that I am a financial services professional. The sector has nurtured me, incubated the great organizations I'm privileged to have served as an employee, and most importantly, financial services has given me a platform to contribute towards building Nigeria. EnterpriseNGR is an independent non-profit comprised of individuals like me and the companies we work for. We represent the players in finance, in insurance, in banking, accounting, law, and other professional services who have come together to position Nigeria at the center of Africa's finance by collaborating on transformational nation-building initiatives. EnterpriseNGR will engage and partner with government at the nexus of policy formulation as well as implementation to foster a stable and enabling business environment.
My name is Obi Bekwe, and I'm the CEO of EnterpriseNGR. At EnterpriseNGR, we have a vision of a unified financial and professional services industry in which all sectors are enabled to achieve their potential and contribute to the transformation of Nigeria into the premier financial center of Africa. Our goal is to work collaboratively with the entire ecosystem of the financial and professional services industry and with government to develop and implement policies that will promote growth, efficiency, and transparency in our financial system. It has been demonstrated in many developed countries, for example, the UK, Singapore, and the US, that a strong financial system is the catalyst for economic development. The same can happen here in Nigeria. We're not reinventing the wheel, but we need to work together. United, we are strong, but divided as we currently are, we have less impact. We believe that if we can speak with one voice, we will be better positioned to influence policies and effect necessary changes. Therefore, at EnterpriseNGR, we will work every day to help build that one big voice of enterprise for the financial and professional services industry. This is our mission.
My name is Kayode Akikube. I'm the Managing Director and CEO of FBN Quest, Merchant Bank, and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. I'm very confident that EnterpriseNGR will succeed in its mission to ensure the development of the Nigerian financial services landscape, and in doing so, ensuring that Nigeria becomes Africa's premier financial center. I'm optimistic for several reasons, but I'll mention just a couple. The first is the pedigree of the founding members. These are institutions that are leaders in their spheres of operation. These are institutions that recognize they have a duty and responsibility to develop their ecosystem. And these are all institutions that are committed and have longevity. The second important aspect is the quality of the management team. The founders have been very careful, very patient, and very deliberate in identifying and selecting people who we feel have the right amount of experience, the right amount of commitment, and the right amount of determination to ensure that the vision, not only do they align with it, but they can bring it to life. So we're confident that EnterpriseNGR will make its mark.
My name is Ben Garibode, and I am the co-founder of the law firm of Alukwano Ibode and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. The rule of law and a strong pipeline of legal talent are key building blocks for becoming a global financial center. The Nigerian legal services sector has witnessed significant growth and seen the emergence of large law firms capable of standing shoulder to shoulder with their international counterparts. Our work cuts across the public and private sector, thus positioning the legal services subsector to play a major role in evolving an integrated strategy for the transformation of Nigeria. EnterpriseNGR will work with the stakeholders to spur growth and the development of a deep bench of legal talent required to support our aspiration of regional dominance of the financial and professional services industry in Africa.
My name is Bola Onodele Koko, and I'm the CEO of FMDQ Group and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. The financial and professional services sector in Nigeria has experienced tremendous growth since the return of democracy to our great country in 1999. We have experienced an upsurge in financial penetration as well as diversity in financial products available in the country. We are witnesses to a banking subsector that has experienced a penetration of 50% and become the second largest in sub-Saharan Africa, with total assets of over $125 billion US. Even with these successes, there's still room for growth, especially as we have over 50% of Nigerian adults, about 60 million people, unbanked, and very little penetration of other financial services like asset management and insurance. As CEO of a financial market infrastructure group, I'm fully aware of the role of financial markets in improving commerce, which is the lifeblood of every economy. There's indeed need for thriving and liquid money, foreign exchange, and capital markets in Nigeria. EnterpriseNGR will advocate for and support policies that improve liquidity and expand penetration across all subsectors.
My name is Oscar M. Onyema, Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Nigerian Exchange Group PLC, formerly known as the Nigerian Stock Exchange. I'm also a board member of EnterpriseNGR. The Nigerian capital markets have grown in recent years, with the Nigerian Exchange Limited alone accounting for about 312 listed securities, $59 billion of that in equities and $44 billion in fixed income. The demutualization of the Nigerian Stock Exchange is testament to the modernization in recent years of the Nigerian capital markets. However, there still remains opportunities for significant growth, and EnterpriseNGR, working with the Nigerian capital market and other stakeholders, can help to drive the improvement in depth and sophistication of the products that are offered in our marketplace. We believe that that would also crowd in both retail and institutional investors. And with the right kinds of advocacy and the right kinds of policy, we believe we can extract this promise. Thank you very much.
My name is Bolaji Balogun, and I'm Chief Executive Officer at Chapel Hill Denham and a member of the board of EnterpriseNGR. I'm very much a firm believer that talent is a key driver for success in all businesses, and I've always felt it was important for us to invest in grooming and attracting world-class talent across Nigeria's financial and professional services sectors. Accordingly, one of our first initiatives as an organization is what we call the Youths of Enterprise program, which is aimed at enabling human capital development by upgrading skill sets for young people across our industry. Through EnterpriseNGR, we will provide, as a starting point, 5,000 high-value internships for young Nigerians as well as young professionals within the sector across both financial and professional services on an annual basis. With this initiative, we will contribute to uplifting skill sets as well as contributing to reducing Nigeria's unemployment.
My name is Banjo Adigungwe, and I'm the CEO of Coronation Merchant Bank and a board member of EnterpriseNGR. New York, London, Shanghai, Singapore, and Dubai all have one thing in common. They are all leading global financial centers. While New York and London have a strong traditional history of vibrancy in the financial and professional service sectors, Shanghai, Singapore, and Dubai have demonstrated that rapid transformation is possible. This is what Nigeria can emulate. The City UK and Enterprise Singapore have been instrumental in the evolution of the UK and Singapore into global financial centers. We expect EnterpriseNGR to learn from and partner with these organizations to replicate the successful transformation of their financial and professional service sectors in Nigeria.